stop being offended by everything all the time.
Now I am too hurt. I am shocked and offended and hurt.
Welcome back. Another slight change of pace for a video this time, but once again something that I feel strongly and passionate about that I wanted to address that has absolutely nothing to do with music. Before I begin my slight rant, I want to share with you this clip of my good friend Stephen Fry from quite a number of years ago.
It's now very common to hear people say, I'm rather offended by that, as if that gives them certain rights. It's actually nothing more, it's simply a whine. It's no more than a whine.
I find that so offensive.
I find that offensive. It has no meaning, it has no purpose, it has no reason to be respected as a phrase. I am offended by that. Well, so fucking what?
This little rant of his, it really changed my perspective on a lot of things. It like planted this seed in my mind of like, oh, you're offended, and? Why is that my problem? And, you know, Stephen Fry is a very respected elder statesman in the, you know, British comedy circuit, so I will basically listen to anything he says, and he's a very, very, very intelligent man. You have to be quite intelligent to be a comedian, and so if that's how he sees it, that's basically now how I see it, you know? Since that point, I've noticed that because of, I would suggest, social contagion via social media, people have become more easily offended over time. In the last 10 years, maybe a little bit longer, it seems like being offended is like some righteous moral high ground that a lot of people seem to have. It seems like you either have it or you don't, and some people use it in different ways. Someone might find something offensive and just go inside their own brain, go, I didn't like that. And that's as far as it goes, because that's as far as it should go. But others go outside, out their mouth, go, I'm offended by this, and this needs to stop. That's just a matter of opinion, bro. Who's to define what is and isn't offensive? We'll get into that point a little bit later. To some people, some joke may be offensive, and to the next person it might not be offensive at all. So, like taste in music or taste in food or movies, it's your opinion. Everyone's got an opinion, but that doesn't make it right. You know, I think that Metallica sucks.
What did you say?
Does that mean that Metallica sucks? No. It just means that's my perspective. If you like Metallica, more power to you. And being offended is kind of the same thing. Is I think that this thing that I've experienced is offensive. What am I going to do about that? What am I going to do with that feeling, with that information? Am I going to keep it to myself? Or am I going to make like a TikTok video about how some celebrity said X thing that offended me and why it should offend you too, and how they should be cancelled because of the thing they said, because I found it offensive or my friend found it offensive. So I'm, you know, getting offended on behalf of someone else. None of this makes sense to me. And I feel like that video I played at the beginning of Stephen Fry should be shown to every person, because it had a really strong effect on me and how I see the world. And I think there's a lot of people out there that would benefit from seeing that video and from having that point of view. I know this is kind of militant, like you should have this point of view, but if you have the point of view where everything offends you all the time, your skin is so thin that you can't take a joke, your life is going to suck. Because you're going to be so angry and wasting so much energy ranting and expecting the world to change around you because you didn't like a certain thing. It doesn't make any sense. And it would benefit the world if everyone stopped this behavior. So relating to what I mentioned about the social contagion of social media, which is, I've already gone into social media in a separate video, pull the plug, get rid of it. I blame social media for this, and texting to a certain extent, is that we've become so accustomed to just reading things, reading messages, reading things that people say, rather than actually hearing what people say in the context in which they are said. We've lost sight of context, and more importantly, sarcasm. The whole point of sarcasm is to say something you believe is fundamentally untrue to illustrate a point. It's saying this thing when actually you mean the complete opposite. That's how sarcasm works. I know it's very confusing, but some people just don't get sarcasm. Some people have no sense of humor. There's certain people in my life where I've said something sarcastically, either via text or in person, and they've taken it at face value and gotten offended by the thing I said, and I'm like, for God's sake, dude, it was not serious. How do you not understand this? You're a grown adult. The problem is that makes my life, my interpersonal relationships kind of complicated, blah, blah, blah. But when comedians, professional funny people, make jokes that are offensive, having to adjust what they say and censor themselves as to not get cancelled and have their career ruined and end up on the street, that is not a good state of affairs for a world to be in. A lot of comedians, edgy comedians, the good ones, basically the opposite to Michael McIntyre.
Somebody give me a carrot!
They will make jokes in front of crowds of people about horrible things, very upsetting things, essay jokes or PDF file jokes, the most edgy, uncomfortable thing that you could make a joke about, right? But the point is, it is a joke. They're not talking about these topics because they're laughing at them. They're laughing because they're in such joy that this thing's happening, right? Some people don't understand this, apparently. This is a very British thing, I think. But I'm not talking exclusively about British comedians. I think this is something that came after the Second World War, and it's just carried on up until, fairly recently, is that we make jokes about unpleasant, uncomfortable things, not to make light of them, but to help us get through them in a certain way. When a comedian makes a joke about something objectively horrible, that's kind of what they're doing. It's facing the problem with a lighter-hearted sense of dealing with it, I guess. But these days, you can't do that. You can't make a joke about something horrible at the risk of being cancelled, and that's not good. And why is that? Because out of a crowd of 1,000 people, one person got offended by a joke that they didn't understand was a joke somehow, even though they're surrounded by 999 other people laughing their heads off, and then they go and complain about it on social media. This comedian said blah 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 blah, and I didn't like it. And then in certain places that is enough to be deemed like a hate crime or something, which is very weird, makes me very uncomfortable. I'm not a comedian. I do have quite a morbid, dark, twisted sense of humor. I always have. Maybe it's just part of my generation, maybe it's just part of who I am, it's part of my upbringing, I don't know. But I do like an offensive joke every now and again. On the understanding that the person telling the joke isn't being serious about it. If someone tells a racist joke, that almost tells me, the fact that this message is delivered in the context of a joke, it tells me that that's not what they believe fundamentally. Because it's a joke. If they just came up to me and said, without any hesitation, something genuinely offensive, like racist or whatever, I don't mind that, because that shows me exactly the kind of person they are, and I know to keep away from them. Is it offensive? Yes. Does it affect my life? No. This is sort of related to both being offended and social media. Virtue signaling is something that, if you're not familiar with the term, look it up. It has made me very suspicious over the years of people who virtue signal often. I'm not the kind of person to do that, but I do, in a lot of ways, share a lot of similar beliefs to people who do virtue signal. The only difference is I don't make it a hobby of mine to go around telling people how good a person I am and how empathetic I am towards this certain group of people or whatever. And so when I see people virtue signaling, in person or online or whatever, it makes me go, are you covering up for something? Because no one asked. No one asked for you to defend this group doing your, social justice warrior stuff. No one asked you to do that. No one told you to do it. It's not a legal requirement of you. And I'm guessing you just don't have much going on right now in your life if this is what you spend your time doing. Again, in person or online, it doesn't matter. The same people who do virtue signaling are often the same people who get offended by things. And again, you can be offended. It's fine. It's not great, But I understand certain things are offensive to certain people in the exact same way that the exact same thing is not offensive to someone else. It's okay to be offended, kind of, but you don't have to go online and spread the word about how this thing that you heard was offensive. It's so boring. It's so dull. Do you not have anything better to do with your time? So going back to a point I made earlier, jokes are jokes.
What?
The word joke means joke. It doesn't mean anything else. The point that I was making earlier is that the content of a joke, something that is inherently, essentially an amusing story, nothing more, the content of that amusing story doesn't imply that the person telling that amusing story / joke believes in the thing contained within that amusing story / joke. Someone makes a movie about the National Socialist Party in Germany once upon a time, makes an entertainment product out of it. Does that then mean that they agree with the policies of that party from back in the day? Obviously not. I mean, maybe. It's possible. The chances are probably not, because I think most people can get on board with the fact that that was pretty nasty. Same with a lot of offensive jokes. The elevated level of obvious offense, intentional offense in some jokes is so obvious that if the person on stage telling these jokes actually believed in the content of the joke and is like supporting what is happening in the joke, they would be in prison. They would have been caught by the police doing what's in these jokes. The fact that they're saying them out loud, to me, is actually a bit of a comfort. Because as we know, people like Jeffrey Dahmer or Ted Bundy, those were not the kind of people on stage telling offensive jokes. They were the ones that were trying to blend in so no one noticed the messed up stuff in their minds. So the fact that someone says it out loud means that you can probably trust them. And I think a lot of people don't understand this. They just react. They just get offended by the joke. Again, they seem to have like this moral high ground because of it, which it just makes you look weak and pathetic, and like you have no sense of humor, incredibly thin skin, and zero self-awareness. Another thing that I think would make the world a slightly better place. The same people who get offended by everything all the time, where everything's racist, everything's offensive, everything's an attack on me.
Everything is sexist, everything is racist, everything is homophobic, and you have to point it all out.
No! God, please, no! No!
Whatever, those kind of people need to stop taking things so seriously. All the time. Get a sense of humor, watch, start light. Maybe start, watch The Simpsons or something. I don't know. And then maybe move up to Family Guy and then to South Park, You make a gradual transition from being this weak insect of a person to actually being a real person with thicker skin and ability to laugh at themselves. Because if you can't laugh at yourself, other people will. People can smell that kind of stuck-up, poncy snobbishness. And people don't like it, and people will poke fun at it. I certainly do. Because you know it's going to get a reaction, and as long as you're not doing anything illegal, I think it's fine to make fun of these people. They seem like they've been very sheltered, these kind of people. They haven't really experienced much in life. Probably because they're on TikTok doing this for 9 hours a day. If these people get made fun of, not in a, really horrible way, but just enough so it bothers them, and it keeps happening over and over and over again, not to the point where they want to, injure themselves or anything, eventually I believe that it will give them thicker skin. Like, look, calluses, right? That's because I go to the gym, I cycle, I use tools all the time, right? That's how that happens. So my hands protect themselves. The brain is similar, where if it never struggles and never receives any unpleasant information, ever, just as an extreme example, the moment it receives some kind of unpleasant information, it's going to crumble and it's going to be overwhelming and unbearable. Okay? With me? So, if someone like this, who cannot take a joke, always gets offended by everything, if they are made fun of on a regular basis, a little bit, I believe eventually they will come around and look back on themselves as going, wow, why did I take everything so seriously all the time? Why couldn't I take a joke? They don't have to find offensive humour funny, because I think forcing yourself to find something funny is impossible. And some people just have no sense of humour. That's just the reality of the world. Like, if you don't find something funny, fine. Like I just said, you can't be forced to appreciate some kind of humour that you just inherently don't enjoy. But if you don't like something, turn around and go and do something else. You don't have to cancel something just because you don't enjoy it, because it's offensive. Because you find it offensive. What? Something that really winds me up, and this happens in the UK more than anywhere else, I believe. America, you have a lot of faults, but one thing that I will salute you for is your, I forget which amendment it is, but the one that you can say whatever the fuck you want. In the UK, that doesn't really exist anymore. People have had the police turn up to their house to give them a warning or to arrest them, take them away, put them in jail, electric chair, I don't know, because of posting something on Facebook or Twitter.
So I'm actually being arrested?
You're going to be arrested, okay?
Right.
So you got to the police station.
Right.
You, okay, this is in relation to some comments that you've made on a Facebook page. Okay?
Oh, really? Oh, it's a Facebook crime, is it?
Why am I in cuffs? Because there's something he shared, then I shared.
Because someone has been caused, obviously, anxiety based upon your social media page. That's
not his.
why you've been arrested.
Think about this. That should be a good thing. Hear me out. Because that means if the police have time to be checking Facebook or have enough resources to get a phone call from someone saying, someone posted something offensive on Facebook, I need you to go round to their house. If they have the time and resources to do that, that must mean that all other crimes have been solved. I don't know why they do it. It's such a waste of people's tax money and the police's time. Like, do the police really want to go round to Dave's house, knock on his door, be in his living room and say, yes, sir, well, we saw you put a slightly homophobic post on Facebook, so we're going to have to give you a written warning. 3 more of these and you go to prison for life. Do police really want to do that? Is that what they signed up to become a police officer for? This is actually one of the reasons why I don't use social media. Not because I'm a homophobe. I might, conceivably, after 7 pints, go on Facebook and write something offensive. Because it's funny, not because it's something I believe. And then, who knows, I might get handcuffed because I said an offensive thing on a social media platform, none of which is real or actually harming anyone. Despite what people want to believe, it's not real. It's just pixels on a screen. If you don't like it, close the app. Delete the app off your phone. It's as simple as that. It shouldn't have real-world consequences. Obviously, within reason. If, let's say, Adolf Hitler came back from the dead and had access to Facebook, I think we should probably police what he says. But your average dude, or dudette for that matter, just typing some inane bullshit on Facebook, there's no level of offensiveness to where that should become anything to do with the legal system. The reason why, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why, but one key reason why is because something, like I said, something you might find offensive and something I might find offensive could be 2 completely different things. So how can you establish laws based on subjectivity? That's like saying disliking the Beatles is illegal or something. It's just an opinion. It's just a thing I said. Did I stab someone? No. Did I steal anything from someone? No. How did we get here? Something that does seem to be a key factor in this is Gen Z. I know I've commented on Gen Z before, and I don't overtly dislike Gen Z, let me be clear. I just think they worry about things that don't matter, they get offended by things that aren't important, and, you know, comedy tastes change over generations. Of course it does. Laurel and Hardy's not that amusing to anyone anymore, I don't think. In the 90s and the early 2000s, where I'm from, offensive, edgy, uncomfortable, cringe humour was the thing. To a lesser degree, slapstick comedy. I don't know what Gen Z finds amusing these days. I guess it's got to be really, really sanitized. Or like maybe really clever. You know, offensive humour isn't necessarily smart per se. It's not necessarily intellectual. I get that. But it doesn't stop it from being funny if you find it funny. And if you find a joke about the hygiene habits of someone in India, if you find a joke about that funny, I don't think you should be locked up because of it. If someone finds it distasteful, sure, it is distasteful. That's the dichotomy. That's what makes it funny. But you don't have to smash someone over the head with a hammer of morality because you don't find something funny. I don't think that's unreasonable. I'm going to make this my last point now. It's become trendy on social media, from what little I've seen, to almost entrap people. The result being you being offended by what they've done or said. I'm not going to get into anything political or gender identity wise, but some of you will know what I'm talking about with that. But something I saw recently, I think this is a new trend. I love that word, don't you? Attractive women, attractive young women with particularly pronounced arses are sticking phones in their back pocket like this, so the camera is facing behind them so they can see when dudes are checking them out, and then recording them, videoing the whole thing, and then uploading it to social media and going, look at these creeps looking at my ass. Is that offensive? Are you offended by someone taking an interest in your appearance? It seems so backwards to me, personally. If someone's checking me out, am I going to get offended by that? No, it's a compliment, surely. So it's gone so far the other way, where someone is... Alright, there's a limit. You can be a creep by looking at someone, I will acknowledge. But this is not what was happening in this video that I saw. It's just guys kind of like that. Like, that was basically it, for the most part. It's like, dude, you've got an amazing ass. People want to look at it. Again, there's a line with being a creep, but I don't understand how someone glancing at you because they like what they're seeing is offensive in any way. And some woman's looking at my beautiful green eyes and she can't take her eyes off them. Am I going to be offended by that? Probably not. Am I going to go and rant about it on social media and turn it into a trend for the world to see? Certainly not. Shaming strangers on the street for taking an interest in your physique, I think is offensive. I'm joking, obviously. So if this is the first video of mine that you've watched, this is a little bit ranty. It's not what I typically do. I mostly talk about music on this channel, but I have certain topics that I really feel like I want to talk about and get off my chest and share with the world, and, you know, maybe put out the energy out there that not all is lost, and there is some good, strong-minded people left in society. So if you're one of them, guten Tag. And if you are already subscribed to my channel, then what did you think of this one? Is this okay? If you want to, you can support me on Buy Me a Coffee, where I'll react to songs and stuff for your weird perversion. But for now, all I'll say is what I've been saying for a long, long time, which is go away.